All right, and we're back for another episode of the Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic, Stephen Clark, Joe Paolantonio, and Jesse Norman. And in this episode, we are here to break down all of Week 9? Right, 9. Week 9 of the NFL season already. We're more than halfway there. We did our Week 8 recap last week, our mid-season awards, then our picks. But now we are back for another recap. Boys, what's going on?
You know, hanging out. It was a weird, very, very weird week of football.
Weird week, weird matchups.
Yeah,
it was kind of just overall not the best week.
No, not the best. A couple of weird
ugly. It was
in the
ugly.
Games.
Yeah, it was ugly. 1 o'clock was pretty ugly.
Yeah,
it was looking like
definitely. But otherwise, I'm good. You know, sports.
Yeah. Jesse, how are you? You good?
I'm good. The Raiders screwed me out of a parlay, but that's fine.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That was.
Oh,
cool.
That's tough too. That was the last one.
They lost by 1, or no, they didn't lose. Oh, wait, no, it was the Cardinals that screwed me. It was the Cardinals. That's why I got them mixed up.
Damn,
the Cardinals.
But with that, let's get into Week 9 of the NFL season. And when we go through our games, we do a draft style. Basically, we just go in the order of the Zoom clock, not clock, window, whatever you want to call it. But we go until we run out of games. And with the first overall pick, let's go with Joe.
Wow, I wasn't
mainly because I didn't remember who had the last one, so I don't know where we left off. But I think it sounds. Let's go with Joe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So I'm gonna go with. There's a few good options here. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with the game that I had the most fun watching. Dolphins 34, Cardinals 31. Yeah. This is probably the talk of the town right now, I think, because there was this narrative last week that Tua Tagovailoa was a bust after he played one game and won it. Don't know where that kind of came from, but he showed a lot yesterday. That was a lot of fun. Kyler Murray was outstanding as always, but the Dolphins really played their best game on offense they've played this season, and they're a great team. They're a really good team, and those were two really good young coaches right there.
And looking at the Dolphins too, it's amazing for a team that was ripped apart and sold off for scraps last season, and basically they haven't been able to use the majority of those draft picks yet because you're still waiting on the Texans ones from Tunsil, and a few other ones. But they have done a really good job with what they have. And Brian Flores, comes down to him being as good as a coach as he is. And he's a really good coach because right now the Dolphins are in the playoff hunt and they could actually win the East depending if the Bills fall apart or not later, down the stretch. But the transition from Fitzpatrick to Tua, it's been seamless. It's been better. It's phenomenal.
Very, very insane stuff there going on. It's not even the offense though. The offense is doing great. Don't get me wrong, it is. But the defense has just been consistently performing way above expectations. It's just they're getting everything going on both sides of the ball. Very, very similar to Seattle in a way, except for how they played on Sunday. But other than that week, they're really, really showing a lot of promise down there in Miami. And like you said, Justin, Bills looked good on Sunday, but if the Bills start to fall apart, Miami's going to the playoffs, and Miami's winning the AFC East. Plain and simple.
Yeah, the best way to put it, I think, is Tua's a winner, and that's what he does. I mean, we seen it last week where he had under 100 yards and they won, and we've seen it this week when they asked him to do a whole lot more and they won. That's really what it comes down to. I think the Cardinals are a good team, but I do think we need to slow down on them a little bit. Because while I think they are good, they are still very young. Also, DeAndre Hopkins was disappeared for almost that entire game, it felt like.
Yeah, and it hurt them. It obviously hurt them a lot.
When he was healthy and playing, Preston Williams was like the best receiver on the field that day. And that just doesn't happen, most weeks when DeAndre Hopkins is also playing on the same field.
Well, that's the thing. Hopkins, mainly because of my fantasy team, but he was basically a non-factor in this game, and Miami did a great job in slowing him down. And Miami hung with him when they have no, superstar playmakers on offense. Kyler Murray is probably the most elusive and best quarterback when running this year. It's as simple as that.
This year, yes.
When he keeps it, he is almost unguardable at this point.
He's very, very similar to Lamar but I think he throws the ball a lot better than Lamar. Maybe Lamar has a little bit of edge running the ball because Kyler Murray has short little stubby legs, and seeing him run around is like a kid running downstairs on Christmas Day. But no, he's very, very good, Kyler Murray. Big fan. And he's very young too, just like Lamar as well. He's only his second season in the league. So he still has a lot to go. So I'm very excited to see what he does in the future.
Let's just wait until Miami starts to cash in these picks too that they have, because they're already sitting at 5-3, and they have their quarterback of the future. So now they're drafting for just straight depth, or they can now swing these picks into a trade and get like some really, really good players for a win now, when the AFC East is not that good. The Patriots have to rebuild. The Jets are like the worst franchise in the NFL. And then you have the Bills, who I think we all still consider, a good team, but they're nowhere near an elite organization.
Well, and the thing with the Dolphins, what I heard is that, their decision to start Tua was because the Texans picks are looking a lot better than what they would have been. The Texans picks at this point are before the Dolphins' own picks. So they can play, get their picks well into the 20s, but still have a top 10 pick at that point.
I love the Texans.
Yeah, and top 10 quarterback with a top 10 pick without needing a quarterback, which is huge.
Without needing a quarterback, and I will say this: Shaq Lawson, absolute monster, and that's they're always usually in the top 10. You're going to want to get a pass rusher, maybe an end. It doesn't even seem like that's a big need. So it really is going to be just like building on that offense, because you have a guy like Brian Flores. He's doing this right now. It's going to be outstanding. And the talk about not only being 5-3, but 5-3 with Tua beat the Rams and the Cardinals. In back-to-back weeks. The Dolphins beat the Rams and the Cardinals in back-to-back weeks. There's got to be some conversations around this team making the playoffs. I think they're going to do it. It looks like they're becoming close to a lock.
And it will definitely go a lot better, at least if they don't win, but it'll definitely go a lot better than the Adam Gase, Matt Moore playoff game against Pittsburgh. So regardless of what they do, it will be better than that outcome. But
loved that game.
Of course, it was over by the time I sat down with food. But with that, let's move things along to Jesse. Your pick is up.
All right. Interesting pick. Vikings, Lions.
Okay.
Dalvin Cook's really good. And where was this Vikings team for about the entire season? Because now they don't look like that easy of an out. But guess what? It's probably a little too late, especially because you're playing in a division with 3 other good teams. So the Vikings are just weird, because it's like, are they bad, or have they finally turned a corner? And are they? They were a good team last year. They've been a good team over the past 5-6 years pretty consistently. So where are they trending? Are they going to get hot and try to run the table, or is this just a flash in the pan for 2 weeks?
I think we're starting to see a good team that just started off really bad. I think that's what the case with the Vikings were, because right now Dalvin Cook is carrying that offense, and to go from Adrian Peterson, to Dalvin Cook is almost like from going from Favre to Rodgers at that point. Like, this transition has been seamless. But also, Kirk Cousins did one thing. He didn't have to throw the ball that much. He only threw 20 times again.
And when he did throw the ball, though, it was there. And that's what they expected out of Kirk Cousins this whole time. I know he's not the best quarterback. He's not the worst quarterback. But when he has to do minimal amount of work, they get the job done. And it's perfect. Just toss the ball.
That's the problem with the Vikings, though, is whenever you go up against a really good team, you're not going to be able to ask Kirk Cousins to do the bare minimum. You need him to go above and beyond what he is capable of.
It's similar to like the Seahawks. The Seahawks are, a significantly better team, where it's like they ask a lot of Russell Wilson, and when they ask him a lot because of the defense, his margin for error is minimal. And same thing with Kirk Cousins, where if they ask him to do a lot, he really can't screw up, because if he does, they're dead.
Yeah.
I see. This team is really looking shaping up to be Titans light. Maybe the way they run their offense, the way it really is it's just Dalvin right down your throat, and then the less Captain Kirk has to throw, the better. The problem, of course, is that they don't play in the AFC. The Titans had that luxury last year, and they bulldozed through it. There is no reasonable path in my eyes for the Vikings to make the playoffs. That's okay. Because they're going to gain some momentum. I don't think they desperately need like a great savior in the draft. This roster is pretty tight overall. You sign a free agent, you make a few trades, and then you're back. On the flip side, though, it's really upsetting for the Lions to be this talented sometimes, and then they just take a few steps back. I mean, the defense continues to get absolutely cooked up and swallowed. They just play terribly within the division. Absolutely awful. They play terrible against Minnesota specifically. They just came out so flat after such a big string of games there. I mean, there's not really much to say about the Lions.
No,
or
it's
really
very disappointing.
Yeah, the Matt
He's a Lions
Patricia tenure has been abysmal, and I think he's gone at the end of this year because they should just cut bait because they do have some talented players that are just withering away. Like Kenny Galladay's really good. Matt Stafford has consistently been good, and hopefully they can get an actual coach. And boy, aren't the Lions like? Wouldn't they kill to have the 9-7 like record that got Jim Caldwell fired just for consistently getting 9-7 every single year? But
Yeah.
that's the story with Caldwell. He'll do, average and then still get fired. He took the Colts to a Super Bowl, lost, got fired. But that's here nor there. Any last thoughts on that game?
Alvin Cook doesn't just run. Guy catches passes and big blocks too down the stretch. He's a complete player.
Good. Well, definitely a candidate for offensive player of the year. Definitely.
He's creeping into MVP, Karen.
Yeah.
Into that territory.
We'll talk MVP today.
We can
see if it comes up.
Yeah.
See if it comes up.
But with that, it's my pick, and everyone who thinks is the front runner for the MVP award, his team lost. And that's Russell Wilson, who got not blown out, but the defense, it showed that it's a complete mess. Bills 44, Seahawks 34. I talked about it before where the Seahawks asked Russell Wilson to do so much that he absolutely cannot mess up at all. And he had 4 turnovers, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles lost. And at that point, if you put up 34 points, you should win. But on the opposite side, you had the Bills who were putting up 44 points and still winning. And Josh Allen got sacked 7 times and they still won.
Yeah. And even with the Seahawks had Jamal Adams back too. And they just looked abysmal on defense, and Josh Allen just destroyed them.
Dunlap too. Who's there?
Yeah. No, you're right. No, you're right for sure. It's very confusing. This game this is like one of the weird games of the week that I said in the beginning of the show, like how weird. It's just we're kind of writing the Bills off a couple of the last weeks. Then all of a sudden they put up 44 and beat one of the best teams in the league. It's just very confusing. Very, very confusing to what's going on in both of these organizations. I guess maybe it's just an East Coast game for Seattle. Could have just been a fluke there, but man, it's confusing.
And right on the verge of Pete Carroll getting a coaching extension too for about 4 years. So had the worst loss of his entire tenure in Seattle. It sucks.
Not a good look.
No.
I will say this. When I am wrong about something, relatively often, it becomes not just a talking point on this podcast. It becomes the subject of it becomes literally, it's like in the title, like Joe was wrong.
I love it.
And then
clips.
When I'm correct and I launch these valid concerns about the Seahawks that I'm told, but they win. It's crickets. It's just a cricket show.
When you're wrong, you complain and moan and whine to every single one of us.
That's not accurate.
Yes, it is. Come on. You were given every excuse for Jimmy G last week. You were given every excuse.
Play the tape. Roll back the tape.
I'm not editing the tape in.
Not editing the tape in.
Play it in black and white, like
See, when I'm wrong, I can be man enough to admit that I was wrong.
We're gonna get to you in a second.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We're gonna get to you in another game because
we will, and I will be more than man. I'll put my balls on the table and say I was man enough.
Whoa, this is a PG-13 podcast. Don't do that.
This is a lot. So no, I'm not gonna take a victory lap because the Seahawks still are in first place in their division, and they have been winning a lot. Like they would still win a lot of close games, and Russell Wilson just can't turn the ball over, and they're fine. But there's just such a little margin for error offensively for this team. The defense puts them in such a hole that you could see it last year and coming into this year that not just Jamal Adams was going to be the difference between turning the Seahawks, who are good but probably not enough to win a Super Bowl, into a dynasty, which I just didn't think it was enough. His coverage is lackluster.
Yeah, Seahawks got to be worried about the Cardinals because even though they lost, they're coming up. They looked really good against a really good Dolphins defense too that we talked about earlier, so they need to be worried about Arizona. Very worried.
Yeah, Jesse, what do you think about this game?
I mean, the Seahawks defense was abysmal for yet another week. I still hold out some hope that they will eventually get better. We're at the halfway point essentially, and they're still first in their division and have only lost 2 games. Russell Wilson didn't have a great game. And what really killed them was they just came out so slow before they even realized they were playing. They were down 0-17. Like they didn't play like the first half of this game and they were down 17. But no, I mean, the defense is a concern. That being said, I think Dunlap was a great addition. I think there were a lot of people saying, oh, how can the Seahawks let Jadeveon Clowney walk and then not get anybody? Carlos Dunlap in his 1 game with the Seahawks has more sacks than Jadeveon Clowney did in his 8 games with the Seahawks. So that's an interesting stat.
If Clowney doesn't pick up the slack these next 8 games, he's never going to see the contract he envisioned himself getting at this point because he had to play.
He shouldn't. There's
he's
no
not,
way
he's not capable of it.
Exactly.
He's not capable of it. That's the bottom line. He just doesn't have the skill set to warrant a big contract. No one really wants a run stuffing edge rusher.
So real quick, then, is it fair to say he's a bust?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Is he a bust? He's an NFL caliber player. So I mean, it's not like he can't play.
Just overrated.
But
he is overrated.
It's clear that hit that he put on in that bowl game is literally what got him drafted first overall, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
And it's
and the measurables, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. But he's
been what a reasonable person would have expected him to be, I think, in the NFL.
So speaking about someone who has all the draft measurables, Clark, you're up.
What?
I don't know
all the draft measurables
because you're a former offensive lineman.
NFL player.
No. Just you're a former offensive lineman.
Yeah. Cool. Let's talk about another weird game, and we're heading down to Arlington, ladies and gentlemen, where the undefeated Steelers struggled against the Dallas Cowboys. And granted, they got the win. The Steelers. They got the job done. They're undefeated. Props to them. They figured out a way to win. Another last-minute save by Oldbridge's very own Minka Fitzpatrick.
For the 3rd time this season. Yeah,
my God, he's saving this team. But the Cowboys, with Garrett Gilbert getting his first ever NFL start, was putting on a show. He was literally just putting on a show, and the Steelers did not look like the 7-0 team prior to yesterday that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. I don't know if they didn't try in this game because they saw the 2-6 record of the Cowboys at the time and were like, oh, we can breeze by this. But for the good first half, at least, it looked like this was all Dallas and majority into the 3rd quarter as well. And then Pittsburgh came alive, of course, and got the job done. But man, crazy stuff.
I think what happened was the Steelers knew they had this game regardless. And we've seen the Rams coasted against the Cowboys. The Chiefs always coast, it seems like this week. The Ravens were coasting for a little bit, struggling, but they were coasting for the most part because their schedule was that easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was another game where the Steelers were coasting and then kind of got caught with their pants down a little bit, and they had to recover quick, and they did, no problem. Because for a while, it looked like the upset was going to happen, but never really in my mind did I think it was actually going to happen. I kind of knew deep down the Steelers were going to come back at some point. They just had to shift it into the right gear and get things rolling, and they did.
They did. No, all props to them. They did, but I lost a tad bit of confidence in the Steelers after that. Yes, they came back and won, but I feel like it was barely done. It was because of a last drive incompletion that the Steelers didn't win this game. I mean, the Cowboys didn't win this game. I'm sorry.
No, I will harp on ugly wins all day, but this is, if there's anything I know about the Steelers, who haven't had a losing season since I was probably in pre-K, it's that these games under Mike Tomlin, they just do not try, and they will let you know that they're not trying. It's just how they operate. You could agree with it, you could disagree with it, but if the Steelers were to lose this game, it still would not have been panic mode. Get that first loss out of the way, out of the division, out of the conference. Don't even worry about it. It's great that they won 8-0. It was disgusting to look at. It was visually disturbing at times. It was a bad game overall. I mean, they kind of did get a little bit pushed into a corner by their special teams at a few points, and Big Ben was limping around toward the end of the first half, and then they accidentally ended up getting the ball back. So that could have been an opportunity for more points. And they came through. Like,
of course.
They're big players.
Of course.
Ben, Minka, TJ, Cameron all came through. And if they're going to win games, those are the guys that have to come through. I'm fine. I'm not poo-pooing. If the Steelers have another performance like this against the Bengals next week, different conversation.
Which is very possible this happens.
It is very possible. And that's a different conversation.
It's not going to happen. And here, I'll tell you why it's not going to happen. Look at the Steelers schedule.
Here comes the Steelers.
Here comes the shill train, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. If I say anything that's not a fact, you guys check me on it. Let's go back to week 6. They're playing the Browns. At the time, the Browns had one loss. That was their last home game. Then they had to go to Tennessee, had to squeak out a game against a top 4 AFC team. Then they had to go to Baltimore, had to beat the best team or one of the best teams in the AFC as well, and another division rival.
And then barely squeaked out in Dallas.
Then they had to go to Dallas. 3 straight road games. All against, and the past 3 weeks, against top-notch opponents.
The Browns are the top.
They're tired. They were at 1 loss at the time.
Did you see their schedule they faced? Did you see their schedule?
If there's anyone
that's
who
fine,
the
and
Browns,
the Steelers destroyed them 38-7.
Jesse Norman hated the Browns.
They destroyed them.
So down on the Browns.
Yeah, they were still 1 loss.
You're right, exactly, Joe. He was down on the Browns. Say, the Browns only beat bad teams.
It's the biggest Browns.
Yes, the Browns do beat bad teams, and you know when everybody jumped off the bandwagon? When the Steelers destroyed them. They went on 3 straight road games, and then they still beat Dallas.
Listening to a Steeler fan complain is like listening to a Yankee fan complain. It's just like you don't get any sympathy.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Like Mike Tomlin hadn't had a losing season.
They had 3 road games straight. They won all 3. I am not complaining. I'm saying there's no reason to lose confidence in the Steelers. If the Colts ever did 3 straight road games, oh my God, I don't think we'd ever hear the end of it.
Because the
Steelers played 3 straight road games, and now we're like, we're losing some. Not Joe here, but we're losing some faith in the Steelers. They had to play in Tennessee, at Baltimore, and at Dallas.
Granted, they won those games. Great job, but they just went up. A top-notch defense that we've all praised and loved. Granted, I love that defense as well. They went up against a guy who has never started a single game in the National Football League in Garrett Gilbert, and he sauced them for 243 yards and a touchdown.
So you don't have tape on him.
No one has tape on him.
So you don't have tape.
It's Garrett Gilbert, dude.
Like,
it's Garrett Gilbert.
Yes, Garrett Gilbert probably will be benched in 2 games or so.
Because he's not good, and a not good quarterback.
Okay, that's fine. Yes,
just
that's
admit
great.
that there's a tad bit of concern.
How many
bad
quarterbacks?
This should not
How
have been
many
a
bad
5-point game.
quarterbacks have come in, had one good game, and then been bad after? A lot of them. Gardner Minshew beat you guys week 1, and he's not a good quarterback.
Yeah, we're not good.
But we still praise the Colts defense. I'm saying when a
Don't praise the
quarterback comes
offense.
in as a backup and is playing his first game where there is quite literally no tape on them, they have done good in the past. Go check it. It's literally everywhere.
This is the biggest shilling in the history of the Department podcast.
Wow.
So we're clear.
Oof.
There is absolutely nothing I've said that is not just a fact. They
Well-
played 3 straight road games.
We got about 10 minutes before we hit a break, so let's move things along to Joe. You're up. You were calling out Clark a little bit, so you want to just get to that since while we got the
call
momentum
me
Yeah,
out.
I'm
going.
doing it. Everyone knows it's coming. So here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. I heard for years and years and years.
I've only
and
known you for
years.
2.
Yeah,
But this is
too.
this is
3.
what I've heard.
Only like
This is
one
what I've
from me.
heard from the media, Twitter,
Yeah.
the fan pages.
Talk to me.
Just get Tom some weapons.
Correct.
Just get Tom
Correct.
a team around him. Poor Tom.
Yeah.
Poor Tom has always had a top 10 defense. Poor Tom has never had a huge deficit his entire life.
Tom's
Yeah.
also always had the
That's-
greatest coach of all time by his side.
That is true.
Poor Tom has had to play in that difficult AFC East division. I couldn't even say it. It was so terrible. And you get him, you get him, what, 2 top 15 wide receivers. You get him the tight end of his choice. You bail his favorite slot guy out of
Tight
jail
end
and
that
get
drops
him on
wide
your
open
team.
passes in the end zone. Yes.
Okay, you get him 3 running backs.
Who
Get
ran
him
for a combined 9 yards. Yes.
you get him a
Very
team
good.
that has put up a top 5 defense, and in his handpicked team, his handpicked city, his handpicked receiving core, everything basically has been laid out for Tom Brady,
Yeah.
and he is now 0 for 2 against the biggest rival, the biggest obstacle, the New Orleans Saints.
That's all facts.
0 for 2 against his counterpart, Drew Brees.
Correct.
This is all a fact.
Is it my turn to respond?
Go for it.
It's sad. It's what it is.
Like I
It's
said
sad.
earlier, this is where I man up and not make excuses, like Joseph did last week for his shill.
You just
quarterback.
did. You just said, and the running back that ran for 5
Oh,
yards.
I was just stating facts. I was stating facts. No. I pause. It's my turn to talk. I was stating facts. I said Gronk dropped passes in the end zone. Did he drop a pass in the end zone last night? Yes. Did a running back run for a combined under 10 yards? Yes. That's all I said. Receivers, fine. He has great receivers, phenomenal receivers. Tom Brady did horrible. Yes, Tom Brady did horrible. That's where I can man up and say, not a good game. Not a good game for Tom, but you got to move on to the next week at this point. He threw horribly, threw a horrible pick that I could have thrown that better at that point.
Which one?
The one off the back foot running backwards.
Okay.
that just
There was
tossed it in
also-
the air.
So Clark, you had to have lost confidence in the Bucks, right?
a little bit,
You
yeah.
lost confidence
Of
in the
course.
Steelers and they won.
Of
And
course.
the Bucks got
Of course.
the brakes blown
course.
off of them.
Of course I've lost a little bit of confidence, especially against a divisional opponent in the Saints. I've lost a lot of confidence in them.
When the leaves have fallen off all of the trees, Tom Brady will be done. He will be a disaster. He will not survive when there's snow on the ground here in New Jersey.
Well,
It is a
he's
fact.
done pretty well with snow on the ground in New England, winning a couple championships with that team.
I'm talking about a
Talking about
43-year-old. I don't care.
43-year-old Tom Brady.
I don't
can't
care how many
throw.
keto diets. I don't care Alex Guerrero. I don't care about his book. I don't care about any of this.
Yeah.
It is not going to happen. At
Okay.
this
He can't throw the way he used to. He just
I
can't.
one quarterback
100%
last
agree with
night. One quarterback last night looked like a young man who can sling it. Another quarterback was Tom Brady.
Well, that young man slinging it was Taysom Hill, then you're correct, because that's the only.
Yeah, let's not get still too ahead on Drew Brees. Come on, he's
Yeah.
not. He's still not in that prime. I will say adding Michael Thomas back is huge.
And Emmanuel
I
think-
Sanders.
I
Yeah,
think
that was big
hello.
for-
As of right now, if Russell Wilson is, out as an MVP because they lost their second game, which I don't think he is. He's still my number one. Number two right now, I think, has got to be Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Or if you
Wow.
want to slide Patrick Mahomes up there or whatever. But
Back to the Michael
Kamara
Thomas
can
thing.
only be 3.
It is night and day with Breeze with Michael Thomas and without Michael Thomas.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so nice just because it
Your
puts
fantasy team.
Your first corner on Michael Thomas. Then it leaves finally an Emmanuel Sanders. We saw finally do something and catch a touchdown there. And if not him, I know Jared Cook didn't do too well, but then you still have Jared Cook. You still have
Traquan Smith too.
Traquan Smith caught a touchdown, who I've started for the last couple weeks in fantasy, didn't do anything. Michael Thomas comes back, I start him, whatever. Anyways, but no, man, they got to be worried if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan right now. You got to be worried losing that big to a divisional opponent.
It's just because when the Bucks look bad, they look really, really bad.
Yeah.
And when you look at how teams lose and how they get blown out, that's how you can really gauge how good the team actually is. Because it's all fine and dandy when you're blowing people out, but when you lose and you're getting the doors absolutely blown off, that's the sign of a weaker team.
Especially against a divisional opponent. Especially that's what hurts the most, just because if it comes down to a tie at the end of the season and whoever has the better record makes it into the playoffs and one might get booted from it, just depending on how good the other teams in the NFC are. We know how good the NFC West is. The Bucks could be booted from the playoffs if they have the exact same record as the Saints.
And if they are playing in the playoffs, they're probably not going to have home field advantage.
That too.
And that's something that Brady has really taken advantage of.
Stop raising your freaking hand on Zoom because it's messing up what I'm going to have to edit.
Really? I was just going to talk, so I raised my hand.
That's fine, but you're moving the screen around, so then that's what's going to...
I was like, who are you yelling at? I'm like, calm down.
No, because Joe's raising his hand, so it's switching your box with his box, so then it... Yeah.
What?
When Joe would raise his hand in Zoom, right, for me, it is taking his box, which is lower under you from my point of view, right? It would put you into the top right, essentially in the top left corner. So then when he's screwing with it, the names are going to say Joe for you, and then Steve when your name.
Why is it moving it to begin with?
Because he's raising his hand, so he's trying to bring his attention to me that he's going next to the speaker then, that he wants to speak next. Because I'm the host of this call.
I was just trying to communicate to the host.
He's just trying to communicate, Justin.
I understand, but
Justin's being mean, and Clark, me and you were going to swap identities for a few minutes. That's going to be okay. The reason why I was raising my hand is because Bruce Arians. Did you hear what he said? He said Mike Evans, who had I think negative catches yesterday.
He had 4 receptions for 64 yards
in garbage time. So
64 yards.
They do count. He said Mike was open.
Mike was I'm not blaming the receivers at all. No.
He said Mike. So I think the coach calling out touchdown Tom.
He is
very entertaining for me.
I like that.
There's drama. The culture in Tampa Bay is like this. Is like the Clippers culture. Like, watch out for it.
You know why there's drama? Because they added someone named Antonio Brown, and that's who drama follows, ladies and gentlemen.
No, we can't just.
I'm playing.
They were yelling at each other.
I'm playing.
It's gonna be interesting to see once he gets actually more acclimated to the offense, how the Bucks actually look and how they work. Because based off of this game, it could be abysmal. But we'll just have to wait and see. And with that, we're gonna take a short break. And when we come back, we'll break down the remaining 8 games. And Jesse has the pick when we come back. All right, and we're back for the second half of the Week 9 recap of the NFL season, and we left off with Jesse, who has the first pick of this half of the podcast. We got about 8 games left, none of which are that appealing to talk about, so we'll hopefully just blow through these as quick as we can, and we're on to the next podcast then at that point. So, Jesse, where are you going?
These are 2 teams that I like to make fun of, both of them. The Falcons and the Broncos. Falcons can't hold leads, and the Broncos are really good once they're down 4 touchdowns. Drew Lock becomes prime Joe Montana once he is down 3 touchdowns. Yeah, these teams are both fun to make fun of.
Good for the Falcons.
They're both not good. Good for the Falcons to hold on to the win.
Yeah.
And good for the Broncos for hopefully realizing that Drew Lock is not the quarterback of the future.
And Vic Fangio is not the coach of the future either.
No,
but they have something in Jerry Jeudy.
If Drew Lock is the quarterback of the future, then Vic Fangio is not the coach for the future for him. There's absolutely no way. Because remind me, Vic Fangio is supposed to be a defensive coach, right?
Yes.
Their defense is god awful.
Gave up 34
Like their
points.
defense is not good whatsoever.
Yeah.
Good for Raheem Morris. Very nice.
Yeah, he's just helping his case if he ever wants.
They're
to,
winning with him.
Exactly.
he's making a resume and putting on tape that he can be a capable head coach and win games. So that's good for his career advancement.
Definitely.
This game somehow was that great combo of both having no playoff implications or very little draft implications.
I feel like this was the second Falcons game in like back-to-back weeks that literally nothing. It doesn't impact anything as a result.
Yeah.
God, I don't care about this game.
No.
Wow.
Like Justin said, though, Judy, good for Judy. Judy had a really good game.
Judy had a good game. Again, a lot of that game, they got down 3 touchdowns, like so early. Like the Broncos were just out of it. And then Drew Lock just starts throwing a whole lot of touchdowns.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. It's just funny that the Falcons stop playing defense. Like at halftime, they're like, yeah, actually, we can just stop. I know we held them to like no points in the first half, but let's just let them come all the way back.
Yeah, so let's move on to the next game then, and I want to get the sad suck fest out of the way, and that's the Ravens beating the Colts 24-10. And it was a tale of two halves because in the first half, the Colts kept the Ravens in check. The Ravens looked like an average offense that really couldn't get anything going, and then Jonathan Taylor fumbled, and then there went the whole game because that went with the momentum. Philip Rivers cannot tackle. He looked like an upside-down turtle trying to make a tackle on that fumble recovery, but then the second half, the Colts defense couldn't stop anything. The Ravens had the ball for literally the entirety of the third quarter. They had 1 offensive yard in the second half to start. It was not a good game for the Colts in the second half. And if that's their floor, that is a bad floor because I thought the Jacksonville loss was bad. This was just an ugly loss as a whole because this lot of defense couldn't do anything.
It was just an ugly game as a whole.
I think this season is about to get ugly for the Colts.
Yes, we expected this. We expected
this schedule. They needed to come into this next half of the schedule with a better record than they have.
And it doesn't help that they
play the Titans twice.
Well, they got the Titans this week on Thursday Night Football. So they're coming off a bad loss on a short week.
Short week after a tough opponent, yeah.
And Baltimore is a hard team to bounce back a week off of because they're a power run game and they're just going to hit you and hit you and hit you every down.
I know the score looks the way it is, but it was not a good game by both sides. Nothing at all in this game stands out.
Baltimore looked really bad in the first half.
There was a good half. There was actually a really great half played by a team and a quarterback who, when they face a deficit, are apparently just might as well not even play out the rest of the game. Might as well just pack it in and go home. Except they really opened up the offense a little bit. They did want a little bit of a play
and that's
action.
when
they let Lamar
momentum,
Jackson do something.
And that's when the momentum shifted.
Okay, well, Joe, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. They weren't down 3 touchdowns and came back.
They were down 3 points.
The Colts still only scored 10 points the whole game.
Yeah.
The narrative
let's not act like this was a 34-10 shootout that then turned into like a 34-34. Like the Colts.
Well, we weren't up by much at all. Nope.
The narrative about Lamar Jackson is that even if they are down a point, you just go home.
I've always heard the narrative is 2 touchdowns because I think it stems from the Tennessee Titans game when Henry
the playoff
kind of dogged them. Yeah. I've always thought that it was once you're down 2 touchdowns with Lamar, it's kind of.
And this was finally seeing a legit, besides playoffs, because I can't really judge Lamar off playoffs, but this is finally me watching a Lamar Jackson game. And I was not as impressed as I thought I'd be. He runs the ball very well, very shifty, very fast. He did make some good throws, but
he loves his tight ends.
He's good. He's good. Lamar's very good. He's good. He's not
really good in the
great.
Half.
He's not great. He's good. He's very good.
It's just he needs to trust more than just Mark Andrews and Nick Boyle in the middle of the field. He needs to throw some receivers.
He needs to get more than just Mark.
That is very true, Joe.
I also feel like this was Baltimore out-coaching the Colts, especially in the second half. The second half adjustments, I mean, John Harbaugh was just so far ahead of Frank
the Colts were in it where literally the second half it came down. They fumbled at basically like the 10, and the first play, that's when Philip Rivers throws the interception.
Wait. The interception. because we can talk about that.
It was ruled an interception. Marcus Peters was going backwards. He took 3 steps, falling backwards. They counted that as a football move going upfield, even though he had no idea where he was going. And they ruled an interception. But that game, it didn't matter.
You can't blame it on that play, of course.
But that's when it all went to hell. But at that point, the Colts, honestly, Clark, you had the feeling I did too. When the Ravens just marched down the field at a whim without any resistance, considering they didn't do anything in the first half, you knew the second half was going to be a problem.
So the Colts, I'm sorry. So the Ravens, Marlon Humphrey had the COVID positive test, which was
second, and they lost Calais Campbell early in the game too. So there goes one of their better pass rushers.
And I think Marcus Peters really solidifying himself, if it wasn't a debate already, as a lockdown corner. But I just am reminiscent of a certain Colts fan. I don't remember who it was, but there was some Colts fan probably that I was talking to that said I would hope that the Ravens had a COVID outbreak and they still were forced to field a team with what they had.
I know
but
exactly.
I don't know.
I'm
not sure who said it. I probably was.
Please say who said it so it doesn't sound like I said it.
I don't think it was
the fat white one with the beard.
There you go.
Wait, Clark doesn't have facial hair. Damn it.
Exactly. So you just called yourself out.
Yeah. Oh well.
Justin hopes people.
So this is why that's why I enjoyed this game so much, because number one,
pain.
Number two, you wished illness upon your opponent.
He did do that.
So let's move things along then to Clark.
Yeah, my dogs are barking. I have to be on mute for a second.
You're up with a pick though.
My dog.
The host has asked you to unmute.
What game do you want to call then? Just pick a game.
Hold on.
It's okay. Joe had his TV blaring. You can't really hear him.
Wow.
My TV. Wait, I accidentally unmuted the TV for a half second, and
how did this game last this long? Raiders Chargers, man.
Raider.
Yeah. I was predicting in the predictions episode the Raiders would pull this out.
Already ready for the playoffs.
Look at him already jumping on another.
I jumped on. I jumped on when.
That was quick.
Well, I've had it for a while. It's when they first got Derek Carr, Khalil Mack, and Amari Cooper, like when they were like that era of the Raiders. I just really liked them. I like Khalil Mack, so that's why I jumped on that one.
Cool.
It was on sale.
That too. Let's talk about the losing team really quickly.
Well, I used to play with the Raiders a lot as a kid in Madden, but they just didn't become my lifelong team after that.
Where do they rank among your favorite teams?
They're probably my go-to AFC team after the Colts.
We're to cut after the Colts from that and use that clip.
They're your fourth.
They're my go-to AFC team. But I'm talking about the losing team here because Justin Herbert again proved that he's an elite quarterback in this league.
You're already giving him the elite tier.
I'm giving him the elite, man. I'm giving him the elite. I think he's just proved time and time again what he can do with this lackluster offense. Marching them down the field at 2-minute drives. Even though they didn't get the last play in the end zone for the touchdown because it was bobbled, even though that was the exact same thing, kind of like the interception.
What a heartbreaking way to lose, though. You think you win it, you celebrate, and then they call it back.
That's the Chargers.
That's classic Chargers. Classic
Chargers. But props to the Raiders for holding on, even though they kind of got lucky. The Raiders are still somewhat sort of legit. Derek Carr did okay, not the best. He threw a couple touchdowns, but whatever. But Herbert's legit. Herbert's legit, man.
Justin Herbert is really just like what Trevor Lawrence looks like. Just he didn't have a good coach in college. That's the only, like, they have the same profile. They basically look the same height. They run. It's just kind of funny that if this was, you switch the names and this is Trevor Lawrence that came out and got drafted and is doing with the Chargers, I guarantee you he would be on the face of every magazine in America. But since Justin Herbert had a rough go of it in college, look, the Raiders are 5-3. They've had some convincing wins. I mean, they were a little injured coming into this game, and they still got it done. I mean, just win, baby.
Just win, baby, win.
Yeah, the Raiders are a pretty inconsistent team, but when they're good, they're good. The Chargers somehow always find a way to lose these games, but Justin Herbert looks fantastic. He is going to be a top 10 quarterback in the league for probably 15 to 20 years because he is really good. And he's built like an old-fashioned quarterback. And I think once the Chargers finally give him a good coach and a capable defense, they're going to win a lot of games as well. And they're probably going to also be pretty good in a pretty stacked AFC West.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's basically it. The Raiders, they hit on a few more drafts. They can be a capable team. And like you said, if they get an actual coach, because Anthony Lynn, he ain't it. And if they get an actual defense, which I don't think the Chargers have ever really had in our lifetime, if we're being honest, they could be a serious team. But with that, let's move things along to Joe. It's your decision.
I'm surprised this game's still on the board. Chiefs Panthers.
I was going to pick this if I
33-31.
didn't want to make fun of the Broncos and Falcons.
I mean, we're looking at one of the, and this is so quietly because his own first season starting was right up there too, but we're looking at one of the most efficient quarterback seasons of all time. Patrick Mahomes still has one interception this season. Patrick Mahomes has just been able to chill and not really have to like carry the squad, and he might be better this year than ever. This is absolutely unbelievable. What we're seeing, and it's just par for the course. It's just like Mahomes is good at Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes is great, and on the flip side, run CMC. Return maybe for a little while, maybe it's fleeting, but he was so exciting. We watched two of the probably top three, maybe top two offensive weapons between Mahomes and McCaffrey in football, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah, it looks like McCaffrey's going to be out another couple of weeks because he sustained another injury. But it was very nice to see him back. Not talking about the other quarterback in this game too. Teddy Bridgewater played a hell of a game.
I was just going to say, Bridgewater played fantastic.
Yeah.
Like his best game in my recent memory that I can think of.
Definitely as a Panther, maybe ever.
Maybe ever. You'd have to probably go back to a Vikings game or something.
He's looking what he was basically in
before
Minnesota
before he was
injury.
Supposed to grow into.
Yeah.
So he's an efficient quarterback who, I mean, he's going to get the ball to the playmakers. He's going to hit all the passes right on the money, 15 yards and in. He's a great distributor. He doesn't focus too heavily on one target. The Panthers next year, I think, are a team to look out for. They've been devastated with injuries. They need to build up both their offensive line and defensive line. They probably need to add another person in the secondary, but they have draft picks. They're probably going to be drafting sort of high again this year. They don't need a quarterback. They don't need any playmakers. They have all that figured out. They're going to be able to build up.
Yeah.
They're set up as a team that is going to really help themselves in free agency and in the later parts of the draft.
And they
could be a team next year that could be 10-6, 11-5, just out of nowhere.
And they got him for a really, team friendly deal. I think it's 3 years, and he's still relatively young just because the 2 years he missed essentially with the injury.
Yeah.
He's fitting in really well in Matt Rule's system, and Matt Rule's there for 7 years. Will Teddy be there for 7 years? I don't know, but right now he's making a case that he understands the system, and he's showing the reasons why he should be there long term.
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater's birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday, Teddy.
So he's going to be 28. He's going to be 28.
Still young.
Yeah, and figure, 7 years with Rule, he'll be 35. That's a very possible chance.
That's about what quarterbacks do.
I really like their defense, though. I like the pieces that they have there. Yeah, they're not the best yet, but guys like Brian Burns and a bunch of very young talent they have on defense, like it's.
Dante Jackson is also a very good corner.
Correct.
Very good.
They're missing parts here and there, but the pieces they have, they just need to hold on to those pieces and build off of them. And like you guys said, a 10, 11 wins next season, very, very likely for this team.
And also, Matt Rule is a good coach. Like, I don't think there's any way you can look at it otherwise. He is. If they were playing these games, and absolutely no disrespect to Ron Rivera, who's a great coach, but if they were playing this same thing last year with Ron Rivera, it would have been a blowout. It's just the way Matt Rule schemes and everything and the way he uses his pieces. And seeing him with Christian McCaffrey for a full season next year is going to be fun.
And also seeing Teddy jump and like dive for a
Scary.
first down. Scary, but he's showing that he will fight for the extra yards when he has.
And he's been doing that this whole season. Like it's starting to feel like he's just showing like I am fully healthy. Like this injury
I'm
does
good.
not affect me. Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, let's shift gears to let's go to Thursday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers taking on Joe's San Francisco 49ers. They won. 49ers lost again. Another just the wheels just continue to fall off for the Packers.
You mean the
No,
Niners?
For the Niners.
For the
Yeah,
Niners. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
I mean, this is I believe I don't know how many weeks ago it was. I went on the pod and I said that if I am playing the Packers, I am just going to say whatever you do. I don't know how many people it's going to take. Maybe it will take an army, a small village. Stop Devontae Adams. There's
They
no
didn't do
recipe of how to
that.
do that. There's no recipe of how to do that. The Packers just do it. I mean, Devontae Adams, despite being basically alone in the playbook, there is just an absolute monster. And this is it for the 49ers. They're done. 80 was the number 80 million worth of cap space on the IR. So that's it. It's a lost season. It's sad. The Packers still could be the best team in the NFC. We don't really know right now.
I don't think the Niners would have been much better in this game if they would have had their guys healthy, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I feel
Maybe a little bit
same.
closer, but
Maybe I just this more than anything just shows me, even though they were out of this game, did it really feel like it would have been that different? Let's not even say all their guys are back. Let's just say Jimmy Garoppolo was there. Does this game go any different if Jimmy Garoppolo?
Not
was
really,
there?
just because
I
their
don't think
entire
so.
defense is hurt.
Exactly. But like
Yeah.
I just
yeah,
don't
like,
think
if-
Jimmy Garoppolo is that difference maker.
the Nick Mullins, no, he's not. They're very
If we
similar.
have a fully healthy 49ers team against a fully healthy Packers team, we saw it twice last year.
Yes,
Same
yes,
team.
and that's
If we
fine.
turn
But
the same healthy
I'm
team.
just saying, let's say just Jimmy Garoppolo is in this game, Joe.
No,
Do you
no.
think it's
No,
that
absolutely
different?
not.
Okay.
Absolutely
That's all I'm saying. I think the 49ers need to get realistic.
You
And if
can
there is any way that they can ship Jimmy Garoppolo somewhere for a net positive of maybe a first or a second round pick somehow
take
with
that.
that contract, please do it. Find a
I'd like
way.
to send Sam Darnold home.
Yeah, that
Possible.
would be good.
I won't like that because I want him, but very possible.
I think like the Niners offense is just it's no more limited with Mullins than it is with Garoppolo. So it's like, why even have Mullins as your backup if you're paying him significantly less and he could just be your starter at that point?
Exactly. I agree.
And with that, Clark, we're back
Oh,
to you.
I feel like that game maybe got Joe a little sad. So let's make him a little happy right now. And the G-Men pick
Oh
up.
no, that's not making him happy.
This makes him
Joe
sad.
doesn't-
Oh, this makes
Joe
him
doesn't
sad.
like that. Yeah. Joe
Oh,
doesn't
you
like
really-
Giants wins.
Why would they?
I'm sticking with this.
Why
game.
would they win?
The
Why would they
Giants
win?
picked up a win.
Well, we saw what happened last year when they beat Washington. They gave up
Does
Chase
anybody
Young.
care? Like, and the worst part of this game is not only that they won, but Daniel Jones didn't turn the ball over, so now they
I
might be
know.
convinced
They're
that
the
he's a
stick with
franchise.
Daniel Jones. Isn't that great?
No,
Isn't
the
that
worse Daniel Jones does, and the worse the Giants do, the bigger chance it is for an overhaul. I don't understand the fan base who wants them to win and wants Daniel Jones to just not turn the ball over at the very worst, because there's there are options. Like
Yeah.
there is, we have to move quickly, like get Gettleman out of there, like get Daniel Jones out. Like there's things that can happen, but the more like these games happen, the more that the front office is going to be like, I don't know, he looked really great against the football team. Like, no.
Yeah,
His only career wins are also against Washington, I think.
they are.
Yes.
That
is accurate.
But Kyle Allen got his leg messed up, so that was something.
Oh, in
the
Tampa
game.
Bay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was funny. Oh, Alex Smith. Oh, so he's going to be comeback player of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very possible now for Alex Smith to.
Yeah, that's a done deal.
Alex Smith played okay. A lot of interceptions, which is
Expected.
expected.
He's got to be rusty. He threw it
Yeah.
fine. It looked good.
Yeah. But
Washington is starting to put together a nice little front seven though defensively. Like their line's still really good. That's about it.
Yeah, they're gonna. Yeah, they're a few steps.
Terry
away.
McLaurin's still very good.
He's the best wide receiver in the NFC East. I'll concede to Bologna on that. He's right.
Yeah, I mean, who's the competition
This
Amari
season?
Seedy.
It's this season though, but they're not even that good this season in general.
Yeah, this
So that's
season, but I'd still put Amari Cooper over him and CD. Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, he's up there, McLaurin.
I love how we just forget
Bologna
that the
talked me
cow.
into it.
Yeah, I just forgot about the Cowboys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Travis
type of season.
Fulgham.
Maybe it's because they're not in the
Travis
East.
Yeah, they should be in the South.
But McLaurin's still very, very good.
I'll give Steve Bologna credit where credit's due.
Okay.
And this is also the game last year. This same game is the one that got him Chase Young. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a Washington football,
And did you
team
see
fan,
too that the Giants like pert better than Andrew Thomas, and Thomas was taken like 3 rounds ahead of him?
Yeah. It's funny stuff.
Can't miss left tackle. The Giants get the worst one. Who was supposed to be the most reliable one out of all of them?
You were
7
saying?
left tackles on the board. 7 left tackles. on the
Becton
board.
was supposed to be the one
Who could-
that was could have busted,
And Andrew Thomas was
the
supposed to-
one that wasn't.
because he was big. I can't remember his name.
Hey.
Thomas wasn't supposed to be able to bust, and
He
don't
was the
worry,
most beneficial.
I'm sure he'll move to guard and like go play down in Jacksonville and be pretty good.
Wow. But yeah, Giants pick up a win, so congrats to them.
Congrats.
Not really.
If you're a Giants fan, no. If you're a fan of the game, good for them for finally getting.
Giants fans are happy. It's so sickening how delusional.
Are they the most delusional fan
That they-
base?
they thought Eli's got a lot left back in the tank. Like we could do a whole thing on Giants fans. They are a disaster.
It
Like,
was
you think
just
Yankee fans
it
are
was
bad.
just the line. It was just the line. Eli was fine.
Don't Giants and Yankees go like hand in hand, like Mets and Jets, kind of?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's usually
yes,
the combo.
yes, but we've never seen a bad Yankee team in a while to put lipstick on a
Privileged.
pig like they do with this Giants fan.
Yeah,
All right. Is it my turn?
Yeah, you're
Um,
up.
sure. Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna take like record wise, this is a good game, and like score wise, it's a good game, but they're both like the Bears and the Titans. This was a game that was played, apparently. Yep.
It looks a lot closer than it was. The Titans absolutely steamrolled the Bears.
Yeah, the Bears offense.
The Bears were so bad on offense, it
Horrible.
actually physically hurt my eyes.
Are they like are they the worst offense in football?
They're up there.
Up there. And
They're up there.
Tennessee,
About it.
Tennessee
Jets,
needed
Cowboys.
this game.
Like they're there with the Jets Cowboys right now.
Ooh,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
Tennessee really needed this game because they were slacking the last couple of weeks too. And it finally, I feel like, got them back on track, which is good for them. But Chicago's bad. And I was saying this to myself, like in our fantasy league, like I'm the Chicago Bears of our fantasy league. Like I basically like squeak out wins, and my team's not that good, but I somehow win some games. But yeah.
Yep.
That's my
yeah,
analogy.
Nick Foles is not the answer. Never was going to be.
He's the question.
They would have been better.
question.
They would have been better off sticking with Trubisky and just tanking for just something. But oh boy, I think we're going to see a coaching change maybe in Chicago because Matt Nagy,
Not good.
the Bears have just consistently gone downhill since the double doink.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, we come to a close with the last game of the week. Going to Jesse. Doesn't really have a pick, but he has to introduce it.
Oh.
So let it rip.
All right. So, in my stating facts of a player who never has tape having a good game, ladies and gentlemen, Jake Luton,
Texans have a horrible-
26 of 38, 304 yards, a touchdown, an interception, and he ran for one. He didn't look bad.
No.
He looked, you know what he looked like? Like how Gardner Minshew looked when he came in for his first game. I'm just
Texans
saying.
also do not have a good defense there.
Texans don't have a good defense
Texans
by
don't have a
any
good
means.
team.
Texans
Texans don't have they have Deshaun Watson. That's
That's where it
the
stops.
Jaguars are also a bad team.
very,
Guys,
very
it's really important that we just put this out there right now. The Jaguars beat the Colts this season.
Yes, they did
Yes,
that is
first
true.
game. If they didn't get that win, this Jags team would be capable of like losing every game.
And I think they
Like
would
the
be
Jets.
losing. I think they would intentionally try to lose out because they could get Gardner Minshew. Trevor Lawrence then.
I think that was the Colts' plan in that game, so they don't get Trevor Lawrence to give him a win.
No, the Colts were a win now team. Would
yeah,
not throw
yeah,
the
yeah,
game.
yeah. No. They wanted
would
to give
not
him a win
throw a game.
because they saw how the Jets
It's just making
looked.
himself feel better. He's showing.
I am. I
He's
really
trying to cope.
am.
He's chilling.
I'm not shilling. I'm saying I don't know.
Would it
You
be the
think that
opposite
the
of
Colts,
chilling?
the Colts lose, they have to intentionally lose.
Yeah.
Hey, look, this is how boring this game is. We're talking about the Colts right now. and
They're just not
lost.
interested in
We
going
wouldn't talk about the
16
Colts
and 0.
anyway.
I didn't even bring up the Colts. It was you who brought up the Colts.
Because they
Like,
lost.
if the Jaguars didn't win against the Colts, then they wouldn't have won a game.
Yeah, I did say that. Well, actually, Joe brought it up.
So it was Joe. It wasn't either of the
Of course
shows.
it's
So I don't
Joe.
want to hear that.
Joe's always the
It is-
poster. He's always
It
the
is.
He
It
is.
is funny that the Jaguars beat the Colts though.
And that's it.
How funny would it be though if the Texans did trade Will Fuller? Like, what would they
And actually got
what
and
would
try to
this
recover
offense-
the recover the draft picks they gave up for no reason.
Oh my god! Like, what would this offense?
This team has no
look
future.
like?
It,
No.
No, they have absolutely.
They have
Their
no
future
past,
is
they have
Deshaun
no
Watson.
present.
He has
but,
to
like,
get out. He needs to get out.
He's not going to. He's gonna stay, and they're gonna ruin his
well,
career.
because JJ Watts literally said he wants to get traded at the end of the season to a contender, so that means he's going to
Coming to
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
And if that's the case, Deshaun Watson is the face of the franchise, and he could say whatever he wants and get anything done, or at least try to get it done. Because
yeah, but that's the problem. What are they gonna get done?
but that's the
They
thing.
have
He
no assets.
by Watt leaving, he could force his way out because he hasn't by the balls. Because literally, he's their best player. Then at that point, he is their face of their franchise. Watt's
yeah,
gone,
but sadly, quarterbacks don't use that enough, and Deshaun Watson wouldn't use it
and they
the
easily
way
could.
he should.
And they easily could.
Yes.
Wow. Well,
And with that, we are coming to a close. That's week 9 in the books. Real quick, let's talk about Thursday night football.
it's gonna
Joe,
be a
it's your
split no matter what.
it's your double dose of Colts Suckfest on this podcast. Colts are going to Tennessee on a short week against the Titans. I feel like this is always the Colts Thursday night matchup now that the Texans are irrelevant.
Yeah.
So this is where we always end up. And the Colts, like in Jacksonville, never show up. They can never play well. So I'm going with the Titans.
Yeah, give me the Titans. Colts got to travel to them. They just played Baltimore.
Play the tough.
Baltimore's a really hard team to bounce back from. Then they're also going to have to go tackle Derrick Henry.
Hey, the Colts got a run defense, though. Am I right? Didn't work this past weekend. Clark,
Yeah.
did you make your pick?
No, I'm not going against the Colts. Are you kidding me?
Oh, I am.
I would be. I if I lose, I'll lose. Sadly.
It's a win-win either for you. That
Stop the count.
Stop the count. I'm taking the Colts. That's okay. I'll be the lone man out here.
and the
No, you
lone
won't.
man left is
No,
we
you
actually have a
won't.
split for once.
Division game, great run defense. Colts mad, coming off a tough loss.
Colts
Give it to me.
Joe's pandering to us.
Give it to me.
Oh, Phillip Rivers is going to be yelling all types of explicits out there.
I thought he would come good because he'd be upset from the election, but we saw what happened there.
Indeed, we did.
wow,
But those are our picks for Thursday night football. We'll just have to wait and see what
Pause.
happens.
Should
What?
we predict Monday Night Football? Because
No,
technically
'cause
didn't
This is going up
happen yet.
Tuesday.
By the time it's released.
It's going up Tuesday morning.
Oh, okay.
So no.
I was gonna pick
Oh
some
man, the Jets really got their asses kicked. Am I right?
I was gonna pick the Jets.
Oof.
9-6.
Uh,
J-E.
I heard-
Three to
I
two.
heard Flacco is starting again.
Is he really?
Oh,
I
is
heard-
he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. I seen it on Twitter. That it was like
I
I
take
think
that
ESPN
back.
posted it was like Flacco versus Newton. Who's gonna win? I
I'm
was like,
taking that
these
back.
are
What I
the
said
same
then.
thing.
I'm taking that back.
you
Patriots.
want to recount on that one?
Stop the count.
Yeah,
Stop the
NFL
count.
and ESPN put up Cam versus Flacco, who gets the W on Monday Night Football.
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh, that is.
So I
if
would
this was
assume
in
he allowed to start.
2012, this would be phenomenal.
This would be a great game.
Yeah,
Yeah, Darnold
it's
doubtful for
2020.
week 9. Yep.
it's not 2012 anymore.
Oh,
Oh,
any last
Patriots.
thoughts before we wrap
Patriots
up?
are gonna win.
Weird
No.
week. Weird week. That's it.
And that's it, Clark. So
Yeah, thanks guys for listening to this episode. We do appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you guys never miss an episode, so subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Leave a comment. Let us know your favorite part. Someone left a comment on one of our videos finally.
yeah, we are actually getting a little comments actually, like people
Here and
like
there.
watching.
Whether it's in the DMs, whether it's on YouTube,
they said
personally text messages.
They were saying how none of us were talking about Aldon Smith for comeback player of the year.
Okay, that's fair.
No, that's a very fair point. But I'm
bash
surprised.
us. Go ahead.
I'm surprised they made it that far into the podcast to actually to leave a
Me
comment
too.
about that.
Me too. So thank you guys for listening and giving your input to us. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us we're right. We're down to take criticism from you guys, or praise at that point. But make sure you follow us on our social medias on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Department_pod. We have plenty of stuff planned coming up, a wrestling recap, NFL predictions and betting stuff, maybe a hot stove episode finally. Depends on the baseball guys if they want to.
Yeah, baseball, there's been no activity in baseball. So
Yeah, so maybe something coming up there. NBA draft is coming up really, really soon, so that's coming. So stay tuned to all that fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next episode.